and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Millie and today I have a very exciting video because I will be ranking all the Milk Cosmetics palettes. Yes, all the palettes that they currently have as of right now when I'm filming it. Now they have revealed their two newest palettes, which are a limited edition though, and they're the Milk Cosmetics and Beetlejuice collaboration palettes. So those will be coming out, but as of right now I have all the other Milk Cosmetics palettes. I have some stacks as well, but this is going to be all about the palettes because I do feel like these are just a bit different from the stacks, and I much prefer the palette format than the stacks for sure. I think the stacks are really cool and fun in the beginning, but practicality wise they're really just not great to store and I would always forget to use them. So I have 11 palettes to rank and I will start with 11 and make my way up to number 1. And I feel like I could rank these 3 different ways. The first way would be by formula because the palettes are so inconsistent. I could just rank these based on formula and they would be different than if I rank them by color story. Obviously color story is a very personal thing, but so is formula technically because everyone has different experiences, different preferences, and different techniques. But the way I'm going to rank them today is basically combining those two and just my general preference when it comes to makeup and eyeshadow. And the third way is the way I'm going to be ranking them in this video, which is kind of combining both of those two things in mind, but also based on my personal preferences. So there might be palettes that you will enjoy the color story of that I don't mind as much because I prefer more colorful eyeshadows. So that's something to keep in mind. This is pretty much mostly just like kind of the way I rank them for me personally. So let's get right into it. Number 11 is the Millennial Pinks palette, and this is what it looks like. And this one is a pretty recent one. I think this one came out kind of mid 2020, I believe. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to try not to blind you with the mirror. And it's a really nice color story. It's definitely a little bit on the softer side, but we do have these two shades on the end to kind of deepen things up. Formula wise, I do like the mattes here. I think the mattes are nice, but there's 4 shimmers in here. And the shimmers are just so bad. I really do not enjoy these shimmers at all. You can make them work with a glitter primer or my favorite Fairnay Pixie Epoxy. I can make them work. They do pick up on the brush, but they're just harder to apply. They're really flaky. Forget about even trying to get a nice swatch with these. You would have to really try because... So that's why it's number 11, because the shimmers are just so hard to work with and really just annoying. Oh, sorry, I realized there's actually 5 shimmers. So because this is so shimmer heavy and because the shimmers are awful, that's why it's number 11. Mattes are fine. I like the color story, but the shimmers are just like, no, what happened? And so now in contrast with the last one, number 10 is the Rust palette. This one is also pretty recent. And this one, I like the color story. And there's 3 shimmers in here. They're not the best, but they're definitely better than in the Millennial Pinks. And the mattes are really nice. I love the mattes. The thing is, this is a very kind of one-trick pony palette. So if you do like that and you just like using these same tones over and over again, then this is a great palette for you. But for me, my preference lies with much more color variation. So that's why this palette falls at number 10. There's nothing wrong with it otherwise. It's really just a major color preference. And next up, kind of a similar situation, we have the She's in Parties palette. This used to be a stack that they made into a palette. Same with the last palette. It used to be a rest stack and then they made it into a palette and added some more shades. So same thing with this one. This is a smaller palette and there are there's 5 shimmers in here, and these two I would say a little bit flakier than some of the others, and these shimmers are pretty nice, definitely way better than the Millennial Pinks. Are they the best shimmers ever? No. And the mattes are really nice, but the reason it's ranked so low is because the color story, I feel like I can get pretty much the same types of looks, and also there's a lot of deep shimmers, and I don't really love deep shimmers because they immediately make it a smoky eye. So I would have loved to see maybe one more lighter matte or at least one other lighter shimmer. So that's why there's nothing wrong with this palette. It's just color story preference. Next up we have number 8, and this one I'm gonna have to be a little bit careful because one of the shades is kind of falling out, and this is the 27 palette. Now this palette is super nice. I have absolutely no complaints on the matte formulas. The shimmers are pretty nice too. Not the best shimmers I've ever tried, but they're really nice, definitely better than some of their newer palettes. and I think this one's about like 2 years old now. I don't remember when they released this one, but this was one of their first palettes, and so that was really exciting. And this one is a pretty neutral story, but I do really enjoy it. So with this palette, I can get quite a bit of depth of looks, I think. Yes, they're gonna be kind of very similar, but there is some mixture of light shades and also cool tones and warm tones, so I really enjoy this. I think this is a nice palette. No complaints formula-wise. Then at number 7, we have the Radioactive palette. This also used to be a stack, and they did add, I believe, 2 or 3 shades into it. I can't remember. I think the stack was only 4 shades. I think the stack was these, and then the rest they added. I haven't used this too much, but this is a really great palette to go for some super bright colors. Some of these do tend to stain, so definitely be careful. These are pressed pigments if you don't like that. But would maybe deter me a little bit if I was still going into the office and I had to worry about having stained lids and making sure I can cover it up the next day. But otherwise, this is a really nice palette. These are really bright, so that's kind of why it's a little lower on the list. I do enjoy this, but again, you've pretty much got kind of all of these mattes, which technically they're not fully mattes. They have some like shimmer in it. I heard that there's sparkle in it. It's supposed to help them just kind of work and blend out due to the nature of these kinds of pigments. So I think this is a nice colorful palette. And the next palette will probably surprise you, and that's the 420 palette. The reviews on this palette are very hit or miss. Some people like it, some people are kind of okay about it, and some people just absolutely hate it. I really enjoy it, and I really enjoy the colors. The only thing is Shatter Eye is a shimmer, and it's just, why is it even in here? It's really bad shimmer. So I would have ranked this lower on the list, but because I love this color story and the grungy tones, especially, maybe I'm a little biased because it is kind of fall time. It's October, so really leaning towards these kinds of tones. And I use this with the ABH primer, and I haven't had any issues. I really enjoy it, except this gold shimmer shade. And I would say also that Shotgun and Wax on the lid look pretty much the same, so I kind of would just go for either or. I wouldn't use them technically together, which doesn't bother me too much, and I'm actually really happy that I got this palette. Next up, we're sticking with the grungy tones, and we got the Gemini palette. This I would say is a cult favorite, and the reason this one has just a slight edge over the 420 palette is because you've got some browns here and you've got some greens here, so I feel like you can get a little bit of a variety of looks, while with the other palette, the looks that you're going to get out of it are probably going to be more or less the same. Kind of similarly here, but I just feel like there's a little bit more variety. You could go for an all kind of warm brown look or a green look, deepen it out with the black. So I really enjoy this. There's 2 shimmers in here. Again, not the best shimmers, but definitely significantly better than the Millennial Pinks palette and their more recent shimmers in their more recent palettes. So this one is a really good one, and this is really where we get to kind of the best of the best. So next in line, we have the Smoke Sessions palette. So again, we have our greens and we have our grungy tones. That seems to be such a major theme for Melt Cosmetics. They really like their grunge. And this palette is super nice. I do not care for the fact that there's so many shimmers in here. I'd rather that there was a little bit more mattes, but the shimmers in here are so nice. By far, I think this palette has some of the nicest shimmers out of all the Melt Cosmetics palette. There's one more palette that has also really great shimmers, so that's why I'm not saying this one has the best shimmers, but these are absolutely stunning shimmers. Oh, my hand's hurting. So this palette is really a great palette, but I definitely use it with the other palettes for some more mattes. I did do like, I think, a 4 looks video with this a while ago when it launched, and it was just a little bit of a struggle to only try to use these 2 mattes. So now we're down to the last 3, and in the number 3 slot we have the Vida Palette from the Amore Eterno holiday collection from 2019. This was such a legendary release. This was so beautifully done and just curated, and the reason that this one is number 3 is because it has 2 shimmers. The shimmers are okay. These shimmers feel very like waxy and thick. They don't feel anything like the smooth and slippery ones from the Smoke Sessions. So I don't love that. I love all these colors, and the mattes perform beautifully. The main reason that it's in number 3 is because I feel like I already have some of these shades in other palettes. So I feel like while this is a beautiful color story, it's not the most unique to me. Also, there's just a little bit less depth. We have chocolate really to deepen up but like I wish there was maybe like a deeper red instead of one of these, because these again look pretty similar on the lid. So that's really just my only con. So now we're down to number 2, and I feel like you already know which one's gonna be a number 1, but let's talk about this one first. This is the Impulsive Palette, and I almost didn't even end up getting this palette in the first place. I just hate this way that it is, but honestly, the shades in here are so nice. The shimmers are really, really beautiful. I think these are on par with the Smoke Sessions palette. I think that these are way different from like the Millennial pinks. These perform really, really well. The mattes are really nice. I do wish there was more mattes than shimmers. I still don't really understand quite why the layout is the way it is. But either way, there's plenty of other mattes to play with in the other palettes to pair with this one. So I'm really happy that I actually snagged this, and I got it at a discount. So I think it was definitely worth the money. So if you see this on a discount, I would definitely snag it because I really enjoy it. I'm just really surprised how much I enjoy this palette. And in the first place, we have the Muerte palette, which is the kind of brother or sister of the Vida palette. So also from the Amore Eternal collection from 2019 holiday. And this is just such a beautiful color story. I absolutely love it. It's definitely a little bit on the deeper side, but compared to like the She's in Parties palette, I still feel like there's just a little bit more variety. I can create a much better variety of looks with this palette. And just look at it. When have you ever seen a color story like this? It's just so unique. The packaging is beautiful. I'm so sad that this was limited edition. I really feel like they should bring it back because it's such a stunning palette. And so there you have it. Those are the 11 Melt Cosmetics palettes ranked from worst to best. So let me know in the comments below if you've tried any of these palettes. Do you have any of these palettes? Let me know how you would rank them, which one would come out as your number 1 and which one would come in last. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, welcome, and I hope you consider subscribing after this video. I do a lot of indie makeup content, so like shifty things, shifty, shimmery, sparkly things, and I also throw in some mainstream here and there. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, definitely subscribe. And I have done multiple looks with a few of these palettes, so I will make sure to link that down in the description box in case you're interested and you want some inspo if you have these palettes or whatnot and you want to see how they perform. And so thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.